Page 6, number 3, Tithi. What's the Tithi? It's the what element? Water element. So the phase of the moon relates to the water element. What's the phase of the moon do to the water element on the earth?
The tides.
Weather, tides, life itself.
So the moon is very connected to the water element.
Waxing and waning of water, yeah.
Waxing moon is called what? Waning moon is called what?
Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha.
What's Krishna mean?
Creation.
Dark.
Dark. Dark. Or black. It's not blue. It's a darker color. And Shukla?
Right.
White or bright. So and Paksha means what?
Base, portion. Part, portion. Paksha.
It means, you could say, like a fortnight. I didn't translate it here as fortnight. Fortnight. Half the moon.
Oh.
That half phase. The waxing half, the waning half. So when you say half, it's the waxing half or waning half. So Shukla Paksha is that waning half that's bright, that's waxing. Yeah. The Krishna Paksha is that half that's getting dark. Shukla is bright, getting light. Krishna is black. So it's getting the dark half. You got to remember the terminology. Amavasya. Ama means together, Vasya means to dwell. So in Amavasya, it means the sun and the moon are dwelling together. When the sun and the moon are dwelling together, what do we have?
New moon.
New moon. So Amavasya is the new moon. And the full moon is called Purnama. Purna means full, complete. It means satiated. When you are full and complete, you're satiated, right? So the full moon is what gives us a feeling of completeness and fullness in our life.
Ama means together and Vasya means
To dwell.
dwell. Vasya.
The sun and the moon are dwelling in the same place.
Ama means together.
So I want to actually understand why Amavasya is considered, I would say, not so good for starting activities. You have two luminaries together. It's like having two benefics together.
Mm-hmm.
And even so, and I know there's the thing about no moon, but you've got two benefics together. I know Amavasya is supposed to be good for meditating, right, and spiritual practice.
So that's the key.
That's the thing. It's not for the material world.
The the thing is, you have eyes in your head. If cross-eyed people, to be cross-eyed is not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want the sun and the moon to join together. You have your right eye and your left eye.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we have these two eyes, it gives us the ability to see the dimension of how far away things are, to differentiate the space, and for spatial relationship. By that separation, we get spatial relationship in our life. We get logical and emotional sides of our mind. So we get by separating those two, we get a depth happening. And the brighter the moon gets, the more depth we have. So the more fullness we're getting in our life. So on a material plane, the fuller the moon is, the more beneficial the material plane becomes. Because it's giving that depth and that expanse and the spaciousness and the ability to define. And when they start to get closer together, the material world becomes at a loss. It becomes more flattened. It becomes less. But on the spiritual level, it becomes better. So that's why all Devi sadhana is very much connected with the new moon. Primarily, not all.
Can you explain Devi sadhana?
Worshipping of Kali in her various forms is all associated with the new moon.
Okay.
Kali is the new moon.
And so the Devi sadhanas have to help you with your spiritual practice, of helping you become...
They remove all the negativity from you that blocks your spiritual growth. Yeah.
So it's good to have the...
When the sun and the moon are together, we get the Shiva Lingam. The lingam is the sun, the yoni is the Devi, the moon. So it's the sun and the moon together. It becomes, and the sun and the moon is the body, the sun is the Atma, the soul inside of us. So it's this mergence inside into the soul. It's an inward directed energy. So for inward spiritual practice, there's good things about it. For outward spiritual practice, it's not even the best. For rituals and things like that, it's better for rituals that are, I mean, if you wanted to do a prosperity ritual, you wouldn't do it near the... So it's not just ritual, it's primarily spiritual growth related things. But it makes you see the two, they're the opposite and opposing energies of that. And the moon is constantly going between the two. You know, we get very spiritual sometimes, and then we get very materialistic sometimes. And we're constantly going through cycles where we're more focused outside on the material world, more focused inside on our spiritual self. And it's a cyclic energy.
The people who are born on Amavasya, you would counsel them. Say they're having problems with the material world.
We'll get to that soon. We'll talk about that. Bring it up, your question up when we get there. It's in our dosha section.
Okay.
You remember that section? Okay. 30 Tithis. Venus shows our desires. What we are desiring, what desires the mind is having, how easily it is to fulfill our desires. So on a new moon, how much desire is there?
There must be no desire.
The desires are much more decreased. On one level. On other levels, the control of the desires becomes decreased. Multiple levels there. So, when we're doing a Muhurta, the Tithi will show us the desires present in the minds of the people. The Lord of the Tithi will show how strong those desires are and how able they are to have healthy fructification. In a natal chart, when we look at your Tithi, we look at your Tithi Lord, it shows your desire. And your desire manifests in your life as relationship. So the Lord of the Tithi, if it's weak and not well placed, shows problems in relationship based on problems with desire. What did it say?
You're one lucky
You're
person.
one lucky person.
Namita.
I know. You want to try something.
So if the Lord of the Tithi is weak and not well placed, the desires will be weak, or your ability to fulfill your desires will be weak.
What's your Tithi Lord? That was Eric?
Yeah.
What's your Tithi Lord?
Surya.
And where's sun placed?
Ninth house?
With Mars, right?
Yep.
And your Aries Lagna?
Mm-hmm.
God, that's intense.
He's one lucky winner.
So that's the Bhagya, there's the fortune, lucky wins. Right?
Cool.
So what were you saying? I had to finish up what was going on.
So Eric, do you have lots of strong desires and they just instantly get fulfilled, or what?
No, I wouldn't say that.
I guess you have to ask his friends.
Yeah. The strength of the Tithi Lord shows what I've seen and my understanding of it is what you're desiring. We get a partner to fulfill our desire. And if we have healthy desires, we work with that person in a healthy way to fulfill our desires with them of all aspects of relationship. When the desire is weak, we're doing all kinds of weird stuff. We're asking too much in some areas and not helping out in other areas. It kills, it hurts the relationship. Causes all kinds of relationship problems. So when the Tithi Lord is weak, it creates this, things start to not work out in relationship because the desire reality is not working out correctly. It's become weakened.
That's so true. For me.
Your Tithi Lord.
Tithi Lord, I have Shastri. So Tithi Lord is Venus.
Mhm.
Venus is severely cursed in Paramguru Totally true.
So it's all about getting that desire correct, So we see a bad place Tithi Lord. So we know that relationship is going to be an issue in her chart. We know already. There could have been other things showing that there could have been funny stuff with relationship, but if the Tithi Lord was well placed, her desire would be in a certain way where she'd be working to overcome it. And so even if there was problems, it would be going on the more positive side. But because it's weak, if there's problems, then those problems are definitely going to come out. It's just the Tithi Lord is ensuring that whatever problems with the relationship are in the chart are going to fructify.
Oh, isn't that great?
If the Tithi Lord was strong, it would be showing that those problems aren't going to be as bad. Okay?
So there'll be problems because it's
That's the way to interpret it with the natal
well-placed,
chart.
but it's strong. So you could have it ill-placed but strong, or well-placed and weak.
No, take the overall factor.
Okay.
Take the overall, is it good or is it bad? How strong or weak is it in general? Because we also have the actual Tithi that we're born on. When we start looking at that Tithi, we start looking at the quality of our desire itself. Like as an example, the quality of desire around the 14th Tithi, just before new moon, becomes a very unable to be satisfied energy.
Oh, the
Chaturdashi becomes the satisfaction. There just can't be this satisfaction of desire. It becomes very, and so the mind starts looking all over to be fulfilled.
So you're saying people with this Tithi would be a little more prone to affairs?
Yeah, and that day of the month is the most likely time for an affair to happen.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it work the other way? Like
No,
when
it's
in
just
the-
before. It's Krishna Chaturdashi.
when it's on the other side and
Yeah, Shukla Chaturdashi is just about to become full, so the mind is becoming much more filled. It's becoming much more stable.
I meant 2 days after the other start.
2 days, no, it's a whole different energy.
Are
The
you
whole-
saying that Shiva's mind is always scattered all over the place?
The main story to remember those Tithis, is the moon stole Jupiter's wife, right? Everybody know the story of Jupiter's wife being stolen by the moon?
Tara.
So, the moon stole Tara on Krishna Chaturdashi. He did all his pleasures on Amavasya. And then he had to give her back on Pratipat and make amends to Jupiter. So so the bad act happens on Krishna Chaturdashi and goes into Amavasya, where you deal with the suffering of the bad things that you've done, and then the atonement comes on Pratipat.
That is a different energy.
Yeah, so it's you're going into that dark place versus coming out are two different things. So coming out, you're working on the atonement of that energy. And that atonement goes all the way to the 4th Tithi.
And then when is Mercury born?
On the 4th Tithi, isn't he? What's the birthday of Mercury? Do you know?
I don't know.
Well, Mercury rules 4th and 12th Tithis.
4th and 12th, yeah.
Chaturthi and Vagish.
Until